I'm Russ Moravec with Moravec Auction Company of David City, Nebraska. I'm here along with my family, my wife at the end here, Diane, and our oldest son, Matt, in the hat, and our youngest son, Trevor. And we've been operating Moravec Auction Company ever since September of 1981. I grew up going to auctions with my dad and my grandfathers, and mainly went to the Columbus Sales Pavilion, watched cattle sales, went to a lot of farm auctions. I grew up enamored by the auctioneer and always thought I wanted to do it. Had no family or relation that was in the auction business, but lo and behold, in 1980, after my wife and I got married, I got burned in a fire, and so I was farming with my dad. I couldn't farm for about a year, so it was an opportunity for me to go to real estate school, get my real estate license, and then go on to auction school in Billings, Montana, and that was in September of 1981. Kind of the rest is history. We've been in the business ever since. We've been full-time probably since about a year or two after we got out of auction school in about 1983 is when we've been full-time ever since.
The first time I ever heard Russ sell, the first time I ever heard him auction, we were driving in the car and we hadn't been married, maybe, we were really newly married. And he started selling and I said, "What are you doing?" I go, "Don't ever do that again," which is kind of ironic because subsequently that's how we make our living. But he told me what it was, and I think that might have been the first time I had ever heard an auctioneer. I didn't grow up going to sales. So I have had the good fortune of working both with Trevor and Matt outside of Butler County. I worked with Mecum, with Matt on Mecum auctions for almost 10 years. You know, talking about being proud, I'm very proud of Matt and what he's achieved. And he's probably, not just because I'm his mom, but he's probably one of the best car auctioneers that you can find. And then there's Trev. Trev has traveled with Ritchie Brothers. I actually met him in Poland, which was awesome because from Poland we drove to the Czech Republic and had a really good time. And it was just really, neat seeing the country with Trevor. And so, yeah, I've been very fortunate to be able to travel with the boys. And as far as heavy equipment auctioneers, Trevor's one of the best.
The way I got started in the auction business was not only mom and dad couldn't find a babysitter for me, but they would bring me along to the auctions, and like Russ pointed out before, Grandpa Moravec would often attend the auctions, but he also historically was a clerk for his father-in-law who owned a livestock auction in David City, Nebraska. He would talk about the good, the bad aspects of an auctioneer and highlights and things that he liked and he didn't like, but his credibility was legit because he was a clerk and he knew what it took to understand a good auctioneer. And listening to a lot of his opinion drove me to not only wanting to be an auctioneer, but wanting to be an auctioneer that would be somebody that he would critique later on and say, "You know what, you're a good auctioneer. I like how you do this, or I like how you do that." And if it came to the point where he would say, "I don't like how you do this," I would probably listen to it because he knew and he understood the auction business without being an auctioneer.
I grew up pretty young in the auction business, and I think when I was born, business was probably starting to heat up pretty good at the time, and we had a few other partners and they were all lining up sales, so it was about every weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday night, twilight auctions. Them were always fun. That's kind of how I got my teeth cut, and it got to the point where we were doing so much during the summer that Russ actually bribed me not to play baseball one summer, said he'd take me and all my friends to Kansas City at the end of the summer if I didn't play baseball. Well, at the time I thought it was a pretty cool deal, but I knew he wanted me to work the sales every weekend, so that's why he did it. But it was a smart move, and I will use it as well.
Back when I started in the business, I went to livestock auctions, went to farm machinery auctions, and that's kind of what I aspired to be. But later on, I found out the real estate was an interesting part, and a lot of the real estate here in Butler County, Stewart County, the Tri-County area here is sold primarily at auction. And growing up a farmer, I kind of knew what farmland was and how to farm and the way the ground laid, what irrigation was, what have you. And so I kind of turned my sights from the livestock end of it and the personal property to the real estate. We joined our state and national auctioneers association, got to talking and networking with other auctioneers, and found out a lot of these guys were selling cars. I pursued that back in 1991, approached the Omaha auto auction, and applied for a job there, and lo and behold, they gave me a job, and that was one of the highlights of my career, to get hired there, which I think gave the rest of my family an opportunity to work in the auto auction business.
The Lincoln Auto Auction was probably my first main gig. I worked there, I think, my junior and senior year. After I graduated high school, I started working in Lincoln and Omaha, the auto auctions. When I was 19, I entered a contest, the International Junior Auctioneer Championship, and was fortunate enough to win it that year. That was in 2007. I met one of the judges at the contest. His name was John Corey. But anyway, he passed my name forward to Carl Warner with Ritchie Brothers, and I tried out there and have been working full-time with Ritchie Brothers since 2008.
My earliest days starts with Grubauer Brothers, and every time I look at a $5 bill, I think of Dick Grubauer, because I've worked all day for him, and that was my pay, and I wasn't even expecting anything because I was there just for the sake of being there. Fast forward, led me to another job when I was 17 at the Lincoln Auto Auction, where both places I still work at till this very day. All throughout that, shaking the right hands of the right people led me to a job with Meekum Auctions, which with this June, I'll be celebrating my 21st year with the company. That company, Meekum Auctions, has taken me all over the country selling collector cars, which I had an interest in. Well, I was introduced to Sean Kiernan the summer before we sold Bullitt. Walked up and said, "Hi, Sean, this is Matt. Matt, this is Sean. Hi, I'm the owner of Bullitt, and you're going to sell Bullitt in Kissimmee in January." I said, "Oh, okay." All summer and all fall, we toured the car and promoted it, and when it came time to sell Bullitt in January, the hype and the tension of selling that car was off the charts. It was being talked about on every news station. The day that we sold Bullitt, we went across the block, sold for about what I had guessed it would bring. It exceeded a lot of people's expectations and met a lot of others as well. And we made front cover of USA Today the next day. It was on a lot of national press stations, news stations, things like that. And it was at the time it was a big deal. So
I was at the auction when Matt sold the Bullitt, and the electricity in that building, you could just feel it. It was unbelievable. It was almost felt like Moses parting the Red Sea when that car came driving in, and there was every bit of 12,000. I think there were 12,010 people in there.
Moravec Auction Company started here in David City, Nebraska. Our auctioneers and our staff have traveled abroad, and we've experienced all kinds of auctions, from personal property to cars to cattle to real estate to heavy equipment to the collector car industry and those beyond that. And we feel that our experience in the real world of auctions have prepared us to serve your needs.
But I have 6 up here, don't have here, no 7, 7, 7, I don't make that here, don't make that here, don't have 38, 50, no 9.
Ladies and gentlemen, sold car $3,400,000, sold it $3,400,000
for the first time in almost 46 years. The most legendary movie car of all time changes hands.